Hockey friends and families, a little disclaimer before this episode. This is going to be a two-parter. We talked to Hayley Scamurra about her entire championship journey, thinking this will take 45 minutes. It took an hour and a half, and all of it is awesome. But we also want to respect your time. An hour and a half, 90 minutes of a podcast for you to listen to in one take is quite a bit. So we are splitting this up into two parts. Part one's going to go through the Montreal Victoire's journey in the first half of the playoffs against the Minnesota Frost. And then part two will debut a week from now, where we talk about the Montreal Victoire versus the Ottawa Charge in the final. All of it is wonderful. Hayley was so gracious with her time, but let's get you into part one of two of the Day in the Life Championship Edition. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to a very, very extremely special edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. We're going to call this the Championship Edition, starring our very own Hayley Scamurra. This is part of our Day in the Life series, which, you know, funny gang, we'll do a whole thing at the end of the series where we recap it. But from where we started to where we got, this has got to be one of not just the greatest stories on ice, right, for you, Hayley, but also what an opportunity for us to document really a career year for you, where you have now, just to recap the audience, just in case you didn't know, won an Olympic gold medal. You've won a Walter Cup championship. You are now, as humble as you are, I'm going to say it, you are now the only female player in history to have done both in the same season. There's just the one. It's you. You will always, for the rest of time, be the first person to have done that. Pretty good year, Hayley. I don't know.
Pretty cool, yeah.
I don't know where to go from. It's an amazing year. I think the first thing from all of us is just congratulations. This has just been wonderful, and we are so happy for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's pretty surreal, honestly. You saying that just kind of like is cementing it further in like how incredible and cool it is and historical and all those things. Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing year.
Yeah. Well, look, as our producer Caitlin always says, we can be your ego. We're allowed to be your ego. You don't have a big ego, but Mike and I can do that here today to kind of make sure that the audience understands how happy we are for you, how happy we are to know you, but also the advancements in trailblazing that you and your teammates and really the entire league have done this year for women's hockey. You know, I want to start there before we go through the entire playoff series, which we're going to do today, gang. You're going to love that. We're going to go game by game and really get the insider info from Hayley here. But, you know, when we started at the beginning of the year, there were questions. I'm not saying by us, but is the PWHL running on fumes? You know, how are the Olympics going to go? Is this for real? I mean, those questions have been answered tenfold, not just the Olympics in general, which were highly watched, amazing to watch, but the Walter Cup final was heavily watched. You know, the league is expanding. We're going to have an episode on that. As where you sit from when the season started, where you were actually in a place of uncertainty in a lot of aspects of the game, of your life, to where you're at today, what has that growth even felt like? I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is. And it's funny because my best friend had called me the other day and she was kind of reminding me how there was a time when like we had our union, like before this league came to be, it was the PWHPA and we were fighting for a real league, but it took a while. It took like 3 years. And there was a point in those years where I didn't really remember this actually, but like I had contemplated, like, am I done? Like, should I just stop playing hockey? Like, and kind of get on with my life? Like, when is this league going to happen? Like, I'm, you know, happy to have like, worked on the ground floor and try to like get this league going, but like how much time can I keep doing this, right? Like we weren't getting paid really. It was a lot and I was training by myself, so it was kind of lonely and isolating at times. And so having her kind of point that out made me realize just how far we've come in such a short amount of time. And now we're a 12-team league, breaking records all the time. Like it just keeps happening, honestly. It's like a attendance record gets broken, literally the next week it gets broken again. And it's just so incredible to be a part of it and to continue to be a part of it and continue growing it. And just having it's been so fun. It's been incredible.
You know, I gotta say this. We're gonna celebrate you heavily here today, Hayley, and I know the audience wants us to do this, but we've got to take a moment based on what you just said, because like I really want our audience to wrap their heads around this, of the level of uncertainty you just described to where we are at today, where you are going to be in a parade. We're recording this on May 29th, tomorrow, for your championship, and you're playing. I mean, we have to give a shout out to really every woman, every player, every coach, every person involved in this, every man too, that allowed this to happen, because from day one it's not going to happen. Women's sports don't matter, to like the t-shirt of everyone watches women's sports is real. We're getting another Ted Lasso season based on this, right? I just want to give the shout out to anyone who is involved in pushing this forward, because it is a really important moment, and not just obviously women's sports history, but sports history, period. Mike, I cut you off before I started talking. I'm clearly very excited. You go ahead.
No. I think just to echo a lot of that, Hayley, is like, when we were like in a transition and we're like, oh, who's gonna lead the Our Girls Play Hockey kind of like leadership team, and somebody, how would you pick somebody that can meet all of these criteria? And I really don't think at the beginning of this whole process would have said, oh, well, here's the perfect person that's going to reach all these goals. But you manifested that to where we are today. And I think, I've really enjoyed the process and the journey of watching somebody who, isn't like an everyday name player in women's hockey, to right now, honestly, I think I could talk to anybody in women's hockey who you are. So it's, and I couldn't say that with certainty, months and months and months ago, but I think, now knowing like the inside of what you've done and the background of how you've got to where you are now and what you've done in the Olympics, how you train for the pro team, your relationships with the other women in the league and what you're doing on that side, all the stuff you're doing outside the game. I see you doing tons of stuff in girls hockey and growing the game and, being involved as a great ambassador to the sport right now. That is all these like that's like, I know for our brand, we're like, wow, could we dream that up? Like, could we even get there? Right. And I think so. It's really, really cool to watch it happen. And I think, and really nice for our audience, I think, to see like the process of what you went through and how you got there. Because you described this all the way, again, if you wouldn't have won the championship a couple of days ago, maybe we're having a different conversation. But the fact is, you did all these things and you said you were going to do these things. So I think that's like a great lesson for every person that listens to the podcast, boys, girls, hockey players, basketball players, whoever, to really get an inside look of the mind of somebody who accomplished the goals that said they were going to accomplish those goals. So really cool.
And Hayley, we're going to have to sign you to a 10-year contract before anybody else does. As much as I would love to say we knew this was going to happen in terms of when we asked you to be, the real person that knew this was going to happen this season was you, Hayley. All right. You've been saying it every day. And it's funny because, Mike, you did make that point of like, well, if it didn't go this way, through our conversations, we knew that was not a thought for you and for us. It was, no, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we will talk about that. So let's get into the game. I know that's why the audience is here. Audience, just quick for you. We will do a Q&A with Hayley. I know you've been asking us for this. Let her get through her parade because you're going to have questions about that. And we'll do a Q&A episode. I promise you. We've had a lot of requests for that, Hayley, and we'll get to it. We had to do
perfect.
This. We'll start like this. When we left when we last left you, that's what I'm trying to say. Say that on Our Girls Play Hockey. We were ending the playoffs. So just to very quickly recap the season, Victoire had a pretty, hot and cold start. You were winning some games, you were losing some games. As we went into the Olympic break, towards the top half of the league, but not quite near the top of the league. And then after the Olympic break and the gold medal for you, the team went on an absolute tear, went all the way to the top of the league, clinched first place, got to choose their first playoff opponent, which was the Minnesota Frost. And that is literally where we left off, was that. So let's dive into the playoffs, right? Because now you have all the momentum. First place team, you go in and you lose the first game, 5-4 to the Frost. Tell me about that process and how that first game kind of went.
Oh, man, that first game was crazy. I mean, the amount of goals that were just being scored we were like, okay, this is a weird game. Like, something is crazy going on right now. And I think I was super proud of our team that game because we just kept coming back. Like we just we kept fighting. We were like, and then the ability of us to score multiple goals in the comeback and then to continue doing that just showed the resiliency of our team that we've always had. But to do that in the first playoff game was massive.
Right.
We knew it wasn't our best game, kind of like top bottom, like just we were a little bit off, maybe a little nervous, maybe a little excited. And obviously it was frustrating to lose that first game because of course everyone's talking and like, oh, you picked them and oh,
Right.
are you regretting your choice now? And it's
Right.
like it's
Yeah.
it's a series.
Right. Correct.
And so I think with the series it's so important to be able to like flush those games as quickly as possible. Like you don't have time to ruminate on them because it's like you got to focus on the next one
Right.
and you can't be thinking about them for that long. And so I think we did a really good job of that going into the second one. But yeah, I just think it was a huge character game for us.
We should also mention this was an overtime loss, and
Yeah.
overtime, something that became very common for your team in the playoffs. We're going to get into that obviously as we move to the second game. I think it's also important to note, Hayley, that Minnesota comes in that game. You did choose them, so there's a chip with that. We also got to mention that Minnesota has been here before multiple times. They've won back-to-back Walter Cup championships, so they do have the experience of being there and understanding what it means to win. I bring up the overtime thing because I think when you look at the parity of a league in the playoffs, overtime is such a great sounding point to prove the parity. And again, it's so razor thin, right? I mean, there are so many series, whether you look at the NHL or the PWHL, that could be a won or lost based on the outcome of an overtime. It gets really thin. And to prove that, we move to the second game. Why have one overtime when you can have three overtimes?
Yeah.
All right. A 1-0 win in three overtimes. We're going to have to talk about Debian in this one a little bit too.
Oof.
But first game's 5-4, second game's 1-0.
Yeah.
Which means you had 6 periods essentially of scoreless hockey.
Talk
to me about that hourglass flip and how that game went.
Oh my gosh. That game was insane. The complete opposite of the game before. Like the goalies were just on fire. Like, and you knew that would happen. Like both of the goalies are incredible goalies. They know how to bounce back from games like that. Those kind of games don't happen very often, if at all. And they bounced back with a vengeance. And so it was we had so much. I remember we had so many chances, but then there was it that game? There was a few and made some incredible saves. I don't remember if that was the windmill. Did she have the windmill save that game?
I want to say
no. That might have been later.
Like, that's what I was going to say. Like, you know what I remember about that game is the shots were not even. I'm actually looking at the stat sheet. Like the shots were 52-38. So they were. You guys were really firing the puck.
Yes.
And we should actually give hats off to Rooney in that game for the amount of time she played too. And 103 minutes and 53 seconds.
Crazy.
All right. It's pretty crazy. Obviously both goaltenders for that one.
Yeah. And I remember too, like with that game, like the biggest thing I noticed with our team is like our endurance was insane. Like we were finishing overtimes and we're like, how's everyone feeling? Like everyone's like, we're feeling great. Like we could keep going. Like we're fine. And I felt like that was a huge turning point for us in a way, like the way we felt during that overtime. Like we knew we were going to win that game. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And I think we just felt so good on the ice for those 3 overtimes. I'm like, we've got this. Like we can beat this team. So for me, that was a big turning point for our group. And I think a huge confidence boost as well.
Yeah, when you watch the broadcast for that game, you're getting to the over. Every broadcast, I don't know if you got the chance to watch any of them.
Not really, no.
They were fantastic, by the way. We'll give them a shout out when we get to the finals. But one of the crazy things is, they do it like, hey, who do you think is going to score in overtime? And every person on the panel said, well, for Montreal, there's only one person. It's like Back to the Future. There's only one person that can help me. And that's obviously Pooh. So Captain Clutch being Captain Clutch, she had 8 shots in the game. I want to look. We all call her Captain Clutch. Like honestly, Americans, Canadians, everybody knows her that way.
Yeah.
What's it like being on the team with someone like that, and then like watching her do that?
I mean, watching her during this playoffs, like with what she was battling, like injury wise. Like it's
Right.
not a secret, obviously. Like you could see her leg was taped up and braced, and but the amount of like heart that she played with, the amount of like tenacity she played with, it was incredible to kind of see in person. She never complained, never said anything.
Yeah.
She would never outwardly say anything to show that, but I mean, she gave it everything. And so when she got that third overtime winner, I'm like, of course she finds a way to do this, right? Like that's insane. But just not a surprise, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about just that feeling you had after the games, in the overtime and feeling great. But there's also that piece, especially after the first game, right? That in our game, in hockey, in the game, momentum is everything, right? You feel it. You can as whether you're viewing it or you're on the bench, you feel momentum changing, and you feel. But what do you do as a team and as professional athletes to kind of kill that momentum and then say, hey, that was first game. This is a new game. Like you just said, the start between game 1 and game 2 were so different that it wasn't like the momentum of the first game drew you into the second game. It's clearly a second game for your team and a different game. You just talk about, what that feeling is in the locker room, what's been talked about professional athletes, about what are we doing here as far as not letting that momentum occur.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I want to say game 2 was one of our best games we had played all season. Like we were just so sound. We weren't really giving up too many grade A chances on like the defensive zone. Typically we've had trouble having good starts, and that was one of our best starts. Like we were just firing on all cylinders. Every single line was just going. And I think, I don't know, the mindset change. Honestly, maybe even having the loss was almost good to just get it out of the way, like experience that loss, but know that we could be better. Like we all knew we could be better in that game. And so I think it was kind of easy to flush it in a sense and be like, okay, that was like the worst of it. Now we're not playing scared to lose anymore. Like we're just going all out, giving it everything we have, and we know we can be better. And I think that was shown in that game. Like it was top to bottom, I think one of our best games of the season.
I'll say this too. I'm just looking at the stat sheet, which can show a lot. We did say you had 52 shots. A majority of those shots came in overtime, which is pretty interesting when you think about it. In fact, Minnesota outshot you in the second and the third. All right. I mean, it's an interesting stat when you look at it, how evenly matched these two teams are. But when you take 52 shots and one goes in, both teams are playing great, like you said. And Hayley, I'm going to say this too. In this game, you probably don't realize this. You had 4 shots on net, which is a lot for you in one game. 11 for 21 of faceoffs for 500, 3 hits. And what I remember about this game, and you kind of alluded to this from a team standpoint, and this is a theme you're going to hear through the rest of the playoffs. You start to emerge here in certain key moments in the game. All right. And we had seen this being built. I'm going to say this now that the season's over. Towards, in the second half of the season, I noticed you were getting crucial minutes at crucial times. All right. Whereas at the start of the season, I didn't feel that was happening. All right. I didn't feel you were getting put out there. I'm obviously, that, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to see you in overtime situations, key defensive moments. I'm bringing this up now, gang, because we're at the awards time of the year. Hayley's not going to be up for leading goal scorer. She's not going to be up for MVP. But they don't have an award for the stuff that you do. You become extremely visible more each game as the playoffs go on, including in the finals. So I'm going to keep moving on here. All right. I'm going to kind of breeze through the next 2 games. You win the next game 2-1. They win the next game 3-1. We're going to a game 5, which is game 7. For those of you who don't know, it's 5-game series. And this game 5 is a very interesting game because I would say it is not your best game. I don't mean you. I mean the team.
The team. Right? You might have to remind me. I'm not going to lie. I'm blanking.
You're on cloud now. It's a 2-1 win for the Victoire.
You won.
Yeah. You won the championship. Everything's going to be okay, right? It was a 2-1 victory. All right. It was tied late in the game. The Minnesota outshot Montreal 26-17. I would not be surprised if that's one of the lowest shot counts that you had on the year. But the game-winning goal from guess who? All right, Poo once again, right? With 3 minutes into the third, and the way it felt was that you held on. All right, now I bring you up in the last game because what I remember about this game is watching you. You were out there every key face-off and moment in the third period. All right. Again, they don't give points for that, but I could and look, I may be biased here. Your whole team played a massive role. Don't get me wrong, but I can make a real convincing argument that from a forward standpoint, defensively, you're a big reason they won this game. All right. So talk to me about when you notice that you're being put out in these situations. The trust is there from your coach, and then also talk to me about maybe other discussions, or is it just, hey, Scams, you're out. You know what to do.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is like, so I'm relatively new at center. I've played center randomly throughout my career, but like not really. Like college was probably the longest tenure of me playing center.
I could have told you were center. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So face-offs were something I was kind of like hot and cold with, I would say.
Yeah.
And during this series, I was able to turn it up. I felt like I did really well on face-offs, and so that was also a huge factor into why I was being put into more defensive zone face-offs as well, was that I was winning them and I was feeling really confident doing that. And that obviously puts you in a better position to like get the puck out and not let them get any momentum. And so that was huge. And then there was no discussion about me being defensive or like going out there for those key things. It's just like, Scams, you're up. And I know what I'm meant to do. And like I had matchups for both the series. I was like on the ice for those matchups to make sure those lines were not getting goals or were not getting chances.
Right.
And it's hard, especially Minnesota. They're a high-powered offensive team and they know how to get to the net. They know how to evade defensively. And so it was a battle. It was a lot of thinking, a lot of mental and physical toll. But I love that kind of challenge, honestly, like for the 6-on-5 piece, like PK, like all those things. I absolutely love ruining their offensive chances.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's so much fun.
Well, you did.
Yeah.
All right. You really did. And like, again, watching these games, I mean, Hayley, I gotta say, you're kind of put on a clinic about defensive hockey and just decision-making hockey. Just to let you know too, because again, I know you don't look, but you actually led your team in face-off percentage for the night amongst players who took more than 2 face-offs.
Yeah.
All right. But no, you were 60%, which in any league is very, very good.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of those 6 came in the crucial time when you needed to do it. You know, look, we should also say about Minnesota. You brought up their firepower. You're going against names like Hannick, Heisey, Point Schofield. I mean, not just, you know, big names. These are some of your teammates, you know, just a few months ago in the Olympics. So before we graduate out of this playoff series, you know, I want to ask this question because I was watching it, thinking it, and it's pretty cool. I get to ask you this. A few months ago, you're in the biggest game of your life in the Olympics, the gold medal game. I imagine that experience helps dramatically in these game 5 situations of, hey, I felt more pressure than this. You know what I mean? Like, I know what to do. Like, how did the Olympic victory play into your approach to these playoff games, especially the overtime games or the tight games?
I mean, it was huge. Like, to have that experience so close to like what this experience was, like, it wasn't like comparing it to last season. It was like, I just did that like 2 months ago. Like, we've got this, you know, we can handle this kind of pressure. And I think in the Montreal organization in general, I think there was a lot of pressure on that game to get through that first round, and especially because we picked them. So I think that was probably kind of energy that was being picked up on a little bit. And so those last like 2 minutes were crazy. Just bodies flying everywhere, blocking everything you could, diving on people, like whatever you had to do to keep the puck out of the net and to win, because we knew we could. And then it was just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think we'll do an autopsy at some point, you know, because we did have a whole episode on you picking the number one, you know, the top seed to play, or, you know, the last year's champion, and all the psychology that goes around that, and all of the gamesmanship, and like, hey, listen, let's get past the biggest dog we think there is. Obviously the next round wasn't a cakewalk, but I'm just saying, you know, you got, like, it was a very interesting thing to watch. And I think, so, you know, going back and now if the season's over and really evaluating that decision and saying, wow, our toughest mountain was our first mountain. Like, really,
Mhm.
when you really look at it, you're like, that's the team.
Mhm.
So you had to get by at some point, but I think it's really cool that, it was discussed, it was
Yep.
strategized, there was process behind it. But like you said, the pressure then to say, well, why did you make that decision? And if you made it, you thought
Mhm.
you were right. You got to prove that you thought it was the right decision to make. So,
Yep.
ultimately it was. But to Lee's point, it's razor thin margins
Yeah.
on winning and losing, and just one face off, one forecheck, one bounce. And I think you're probably getting a lot of boos and jeers that I can't believe you picked that team. Why would you pick
Yeah.
them? They're your biggest
Yeah.
rival. So I think it's a very interesting dynamic and getting through the first round, but awesome to see it come to fruition. After making that decision.
Mhm.
Hayley, you did mention in our last day in the life that you knew that pressure was coming with having
Mhm.
chosen Minnesota, which surprised a lot of people because this just kind of plays into it. You're the first team that came in first to have
Yeah.
advanced past the first round,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm very careful with things like first time ever. It's been 3 seasons, right? But
Yeah.
it's the first time ever.
Well, so
that's
it's
happened.
it's the President's Trophy curse, right? In the NHL, it's the same type of
Yeah.
idea. It's like, okay, great, you finished first. Who cares? It's a brand new season.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Mhm.
Now, my question to you is, and I understood, and you can say no to this. I understood in the last episode why you didn't want to go into the decision to pick Minnesota.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you could give us a little insight into what maybe some of the decision making was on that, or do you want a hard pass on that?
No, I don't mind. I actually think I wanna say Anne may have said it in an interview or something, but it was like, in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. And
Love
so
it.
I think that was a cool little phrase. And like, we knew how good Minnesota was, and we knew how good Ottawa, like it, both
Right.
teams have their different strengths, and they're both great teams. But like Minnesota, definitely we knew they've won back-to-back championships, like they're going to be a good playoff team to play. And I think that helped prepare us for the second series like immensely.
I gotta say it. I love it. You look into the face of the lion and you want to
Yeah.
fight the lion. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, for the kids and the parents listening that go to your youth tournaments and you have these discussions of who would be the easiest,
Mm-hmm.
the pros don't do that.
Mm-mm.
They want the hardest. All right. I'm going to say again, echoing you, everyone's hard in this league. Don't get me
Well,
wrong.
that works
All right.
now, but I mean, I
Yeah.
will say this: there's got to be some front office discussion, because it does come down to business too, right? Like, how do we squeak out? Can we get 7 games? Can we get 6? Get 4 more home games or 2 more home? Like, come into like these are real life decisions getting made at the professional level. Like, this isn't some weekend tournament up in Rochester. Like, this is a real tournament that has implications to say, wow, if we make it through the first round, we've made a lot more money, and we've got a lot more exposure to who we are. So it's a real risk. It's a real thought process of saying, it's not just a, hey, we think we're just going to go after the big dog. We want to expand this out as long as we can.
Where I'm going to add on to that, Mike, is to the kids listening and the coaches listening. I agree with you on this too, but I do think that there's a certain competitive honor in understanding that your brain should not just default to who's going to be easiest, right? Because I'm not going to say that's like a loser's mentality. I'm really not. But the other one is a championship mentality. All right, and look, there could be matchups that you're looking at. There could be a lot of things. Something nobody talks about, Hayley, is the other teams you had to choose from. Right? It's not like Boston is like a pushover here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, as a fan of the league. I know Ottawa had been to the final previously, but I was a little surprised that they defeated Boston in the way that they did. Ottawa kind of cruised into that final.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that watching? Because, again, just reiterating what I was saying, you choosing Montreal kind of almost created this. I mean, it created this other matchup, right? So was there any thought into that? And then what were just your general thoughts on the Ottawa-Boston series from what you could see?
Yeah, no thoughts necessarily on what the other matchup would be based on our pick, I would say. Excuse me. It was more so, what was interesting is Ottawa had beaten Boston in the regular season in their series. But again, they were all razor thin. It was like overtime shootouts, right? So we kind of knew for viewers watching it would be a tight series.
Right.
For sure. And I mean, I think Gwen Phillips has proven like what she does during playoffs, which is like insane. And Frankel too. She played incredible. There was just some, there was a few crazy bounces. There was, uh, Boston just not able to get it past Gwen at times. I think Ottawa also plays really, really physical.
They do.
So I think that
Yeah.
ramped up quite a bit in playoffs. And so I think those were huge factors in that series. And um, yeah, it was interesting. I was surprised as well. I thought Boston was maybe going to find a way to close it out, but they had that weird like 6-day break between the games, which I think
Right.
was also kind of like was interesting. We also had a back-to-back game during our series, so there was like the two extremes a bit. Which, I don't think that really factors in necessarily to like an advantage for either team, but it was something that was interesting.
I know Lee's going to get into the second round here, so I just wanted to end kind of the first round. Is that
Yeah.
you get past the big mountain that you picked. How do you go from that and not just say, "Oh, we did our job"? Like, wow, that was the biggest challenge. We got over it. Now it's easy. Now we're going to run through, because now you're facing another. You just talked about the good bad about the league. The great thing about the league is it is a player or two. Like, that's really the difference in these games. And so you get by, someone who everybody would assume is like your biggest challenge, right, from an outsider's point of view. How do you do that as a player then, and mentally reset and say, okay, what an accomplishment, but now we know where we're going with this?
Yeah, I think we celebrated, when we won that game 5. I think we cherished that. We were pumped. And then I think the next day it was like, all right, we know what we got to do, because the second series started pretty quick. There wasn't that much time to like soak in it or rest or anything like that. I think we literally had one day maybe, because we also had the whole postponement thing. So yeah, we didn't talk about that game 5. Like,
That's right.
we were down and out, you guys. Like, there was so many sicknesses that game.
Let me rewind back for the audience. So game 5, I'm glad you brought that up, because I forgot about it too.
I did too.
Game 5 of the series was postponed due to illness. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Hayley. Like, we all of us here at our girls' crew were like, look, we don't want to bother you to win the playoffs. But even I was like, hey, are you okay? Because like the only report we got was illness. And I'm like, I actually had flashbacks to COVID with the PWHL when they had to cancel the tournament. But thank goodness you texted me back like, yeah, it's just something going through.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess enough people were sick, you weren't gonna have a team to play, and that's why they chose to do this.
It was a lot of girls, and it was not something you can play through necessarily.
I
so it was wild. But you found out like during the day. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess we group. But
do you know if that was a mutual decision by the teams or the league, or how that came?
I honestly have no clue.
Right. Well, it was the right decision.
No clue. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you something too, because I'd love to hear your opinion on this. What would you rather be, the Carolina Hurricanes, getting those 14 days difference, or want to go right into it? Like you just said, like the game was over, you celebrated for a little bit, and like, okay, we're playing in 2 days. So where is your thought process as an athlete, and being prepared and ready and willing to play in that short period of time?
For us, I kind of liked that we just went right into it. I think it leaves less time for like ruminating or thinking too much. It's just like, just go, like, just play. That's why I didn't honestly mind our back-to-back game. I'm like, honestly, I think it's good. We just get right back into it. You forget about the last game. And I think that helps the mindset a little bit. Obviously in like the Stanley Cup finals with them, I think rest is probably crucial in the fact that it's like so physical and stuff. Not that ours isn't, but like, we had time to rest prior, sort of thing. And it's not like Ottawa had that much rest over us. So I think in that sense, I liked that we played right away.
Yeah, I'll say I'm like you with it, Hayley. Like, I like to keep going. A lot of it depends on injuries. Also, we got to remember that the NHL is a 7-game series. That does change this.
It's different.
Bit. Yeah, there's.
I think I did hear an article on from one of the NHL guys, and they were talking about like if you have a quick turnaround, your body doesn't get a chance to know it's hurt. Like, it doesn't remind you, oh my God, that really hurts. Like, I'm in real pain. Like, you just go. But when sometimes you get that too long a break, you start going, oh, I'm healing. And now it feels normal. But you can't feel normal, because you have to you have to be able to play through some things. So yeah, I know it's not apples to apples, but there is wear and tear. There is the strain of playing those games after game. Like maybe you were lucky that, Boston played Ottawa in maybe it was a more physical contest. They're like, well, they don't need the break. We don't want them getting the break. We let them beat each other up a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll say this too, that I'm glad you brought this up, Hayley, because again, I don't know how many of you would love to play in a Game 5, Game 7 scenario after having the stomach flu, but they did and they won.
Yeah.
All right, gang, that's going to do it for part 1 of this championship edition. As you can see, Montreal has now advanced to the Walter Cup final, which we will dive right into here next week on a fresh episode of Our Girls Play Hockey with Hayley Scamurra. We will see you then. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.